My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And the purpose of today's video is to really take a deep dive and see what's going on in the real estate market here in Anchorage. This continues to be a interesting developing market as we move forward here. Do we see signs of the market softening up and changes around the horizon? Maybe. We'll take a second to really dive into that here in the numbers in just a minute. But before we do that, do make sure you give this video a like. If you haven't done so already, do subscribe as well so you can receive more information like this in the future. And let's go and jump into today's market update for what's going on in Anchorage. Okay, so a couple things real quick. Number one, we're going to look at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. And secondly, all this data is going to be from the month of December, which is the month that we have the most accurate, complete information about. So number one, inventory in December was 357 this time last year. And just last month, the inventory was 223 on the residential side. So like that's about a 1/3 of a cut in the inventory for the month of December. The thing that I find really interesting though is that despite the inventory being cut so much, the number of properties that sold in December actually was only off by one. There were 314 properties that sold in December last year. And now what we see is there's actually 315 just a month ago. So that's really indicative of the market we're in. We'll talk more about it in the summary though. The next thing we need to look at is the average sold price. So the average sold price in Anchorage for the residential market was about $397,000 year to date, and now it's $424,000, which is a 6.92% increase for the average sold price in this market. So that continues to kind of be the story that we see moving forward. We'll unpack it a little bit more in the summary, but average sold prices definitely are going up. Not quite double digits like what we see in other parts of the state, but still increasing at a pretty accelerated rate. Let's go and switch gears and take a look at condos now. So in condos, we see that there were 289 home condos that were on the market for the month of December. This past year is about 127. So huge cut in inventory. You kind of see that across the board for just about every month for last year. So yes, inventory for condos is down just like it is on the residential side. The next thing we see is that the number of condos actually did increase despite the fact that we had less that were on the market. There were 125 that sold in December for the previous year. This past year was 144. So despite the inventory being so compressed and shrunk, we did in fact see an increase in the number of condos that sold. Next, we see that the average sold price, as you can imagine, did increase for the condos here in Anchorage. They went from about $217,000 to about $231,000. So that's about a 6.4% increase for the average sold price. Pretty comparable to what we see on the residential side, just not on the same scale. Let's take a break real quick here. So if you are looking at making a move up here to Alaska, I actually do provide a free service to you. It's the relocation guide for those of you who are considering moving up here and just wanting more information about it. It kind of answers a lot of big questions people have as they're moving into the area. I wish I'd had this when I was moving up to kind of answer a lot of these questions. If you'd like a free copy of it, do make sure that you drop me a line either on Facebook, Instagram, or just register on my website and make sure you put in the little comment section relocation guide so I know what to send you. So do take advantage of that, and let's go and finish today's market update with the multifamilies. Now in the multifamilies, what we're seeing is a lot of things going on here because obviously we're dealing more with investments at that point. So let's go and just start at the 30,000 foot view and we'll go down from there. So what we see is that the number of properties that were on the market in December last year, the previous year was 161. This past year, a couple months ago, we see there was about 92. So first off, the options that are available to investors really decreased. The next thing that we see is that despite the inventory being so low, the number of properties on the multifamily side did actually increase proportionally by roughly 20-25%, because it went from 39 properties that sold in December for the previous year to 49 that sold for this past year. So despite the inventory being so compressed, we do in fact see that more properties are selling on the multifamily arena. Last but not least, let's take a look at the average sold price for multifamily properties here in Anchorage. Now, the first thing I do want to point out about this, it looks insane just looking at it, and there are certainly some aspects to it that we can expect that it's a lot higher than usual. But also, I do also want to point out that properties we're looking at in multifamily goes everywhere from the little duplex all the way up to the huge commercial 30-plex property. So these are good numbers. They're not quite as useful for measuring how the market is doing as we have on the residential or the condo side. But that being said though, the average sold price for this time last year was roughly about 400, I believe it was about 434,000. This year it is just shy of 500,000. I believe it's 499 and some change. So that is a healthy 15% increase for the year to date on the average sold price, which it's not too hard to understand why that's the case. Rents are going up and the interest rates remain low. So if you are an investor, this is when the getting's good and it's time to jump into the market. You might be paying a little bit more, but also you're going to be paying less interest rate on that. And if you're running the monthly cash flow numbers, you see how big of an impact that interest rate makes. That being the case, though, I would also point out for those of you who are considering jumping into the real estate in this area, the property taxes are unfairly high for homeowners here in the area. That's because in Anchorage, they don't have a sales tax or really any other way to raise money. So they take it all out on the property owners. And I actually have talked to people from California that are like, holy cows, your taxes are so high on property. And yeah, that's how they get their pound of flesh. We don't have income tax, we don't have sales tax, but that's how they get you. So when you're trying to see on the investment side if this makes sense or not for you to be looking at an investment, do make sure we have to factor that in for sure. That being said, they also across the board have increased the assessed values for properties in Anchorage. And sit on the Eagle River Community Council, well, last week was my last time. They were talking about it. And I believe they said that across the board, they're coming out with like a 5.5% increase on everybody. So if that's something you want to contest, then you better get on it quick because you've only got 30 days to get it done. On the residential side and the condo side for that matter, moving forward, I really do believe we're going to continue seeing more of the same. That inventory is going to be compressed, the demand is going to be high, which is going to drive the prices up. That being said, if you are a buyer, still not a bad time to buy. Just know it's going to be really competitive and it's going to be best if we can find you a property off market than trying to jump into this mosh pit. I've had much better luck with that lately than just trying to do it that way. As soon as the interest rates do go up, which they are projected to do, I was actually speaking with Adam Hefner with First Rate Financial in a podcast interview just a little bit ago, and the interest rates are projected to increase, and that's going to start having some cooling down effect on the market. It's not going to be a big shift, and it's not going to be a collapsed market like everyone is talking about. But as soon as inflation starts doing its thing, then you're going to see those interest rates are going to start going up, and you're going to have people really regretting they didn't take advantage of the interest rates while they were low. So this has been your market update. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have questions, do reach out to me on either my Facebook page, slide into my DMs, or reach out to me on my website. Link for that is going to be down below, and I'd be happy to help as best I can, and we'll see you next time.